They evoke feelings of nostalgia and enchant us with their tunes, yet beneath their beauty is something far more sinister. Consider Alt J's Breeze Blocks, which conceals a terrifying story of obsession and brutality, or Law's There She Goes, a lovely classic that is actually about heroin addiction. The Eagles' Hotel California is another song that many think explores the sinister underside of hedonism, self-destruction, and celebrity. What other well-known songs have sinister undertones, Stay tuned as we reveal the eerie realities beneath these lovely songs, which contain surprisingly sinister and perverse secrets. The Laws, There She Goes. Although There She Goes initially seems like a charming, melancholic song about a past love, its message is far worse. Since phrases like racing through my brain allude to the euphoric high, many people assume the lyrics depict heroin addiction. Although Lee Mavers, the vocalist of The Law, has not explained the significance of the song, its allusions to the unbridled desire imply addiction. The song's creepy undertone in Law's 1988 original version is more in line with its purported drug-related origins, even if Sixpence None, the Richards remake, propelled it back into the mainstream in the late 1990s. It is one of the most deceptively unsettling songs in pop history because of its lively melody contrasting with its eerie meaning. Bad Flower, Ghost. Under its catchy rock tune, Bad Flower's extremely raw song Ghost conveys a deep melancholy. The lyrics, which graphically depict self-harm and the sense of disassociation from reality, describe a person's battle with suicidal ideas. It was written by frontman Josh Katz, who used music to express his feelings during personal despair. The song struck a deep chord with listeners, despite its upsetting subject, and many gave it credit for assisting them in processing their hardships. The contrast between its intense sound and gut-wrenching lyrics produces an eerie yet profoundly emotional sensation. A scary yet significant work of contemporary rock music, Ghost stands in a society where mental health awareness is vital. Lady Gaga, Speechless. A tragic cry is hidden behind Lady Gaga's speechless, loud, theatrical sound. For her father, who was ignoring his health and refused surgery for a severe cardiac issue, Gaga penned the song. She pleaded with him to look after himself, even threatening to stop performing music if he didn't. The lyrics, which are brimming with love and desperation, reflect the anxiety associated with losing a parent to avoidable causes. It's a cry of concern from real life, not merely a ballad about grief. Thankfully, her father had surgery and recovered, so the song serves as a personal reminder of the potency of music as a medium for expression and persuasion. Death Cab for Cutie, I Will Possess Your Heart. A closer examination of the words reveals a darker connotation, even though many people understand this song as a passionate cry for love. I Will Possess Your Heart chronicles the compulsive ideas of a person who can't handle rejection. The message, that this is a song about stalking, becomes evident when the lyrics eventually begin to play after the protracted orchestral prelude creates a sense of dread. Because the protagonist doesn't appear to realize how unsettling his remarks sound, Ben Gibbard's eerie voice makes it even more disturbing. Death Cab for Cutie demonstrated that even indie love songs can have ominous overtones by transforming an uncomfortable reality into an eerily beautiful melody. Sylvan Esso, Parade With Me. Parade With Me initially sounds like a catchy dance song with an enticing tempo. The lyrics, however, present a much more unsettling image. In reality, the song discusses how climate change is causing civilization to crumble. Sylvan Esso mixes apocalyptic imagery with lively music by suggesting a dystopian future and the depletion of natural resources. Even the song's title alludes to the disruption of the word paradigm, implying a change in our perspective on the universe. It serves as a witty yet terrifying reminder that even though we may be dancing through life, calamity could lurk around every corner. Modest Mouse, Lampshades on Fire. This song's vibrant, upbeat tone belies a profound fear of human devastation. Lampshades on Fire is a chilling critique of how individuals misuse resources, ruin ecosystems, and move on to the next without feeling guilty. Isaac Brock, the lead singer, explained that it was a metaphor for careless consumerism, highlighting how people consume everything until nothing is left. The fast-paced, somewhat maniacal vocal delivery makes the message much more unnerving. It's essentially a warning about the environmental problem wrapped in danceable beats. Still, it sounds more like a light-hearted indie rock anthem once you realize what you're singing along to. Pearl Jam, Once. In addition to being a grunge classic, Pearl Jam's Once is a component of the eerie Mama San trio of tracks. The song chronicles a man's spiral into insanity that ends in murder. Eddie Vedder's unpolished vocals heighten the suspense, and the song's fierce pace reflects the protagonist's collapsing mental state. Although Pearl Jam's debut album, 10, is replete with this concept of losing control, Once is especially unnerving because of where it falls in the trilogy. It tells a heartbreaking tale of torture, suffering, and eventual demise when heard with Alive and Footsteps. Although the music is thrilling, its subtext is unsettlingly sinister. Bastille, Good Grief. Bastille's Good Grief may seem like a happy song, but its lyrics convey a different message. The song explores the tumultuous feelings that accompany losing a loved one, perhaps to suicide. The cheerful tune is deceptive, concealing the grief-related melancholy, bewilderment, and annoyance. According to the band's lead singer, Dan Smith, the song captures how people attempt to divert their attention from loss by partying or being occupied. The jumbled, almost dreamlike lyrics reflect how confusing sorrow may be. It's a potent illustration of how music can convey pain unexpectedly. Sometimes, the most upbeat tunes are the saddest. Bobby Darin, Artificial Flowers. Artificial Flowers sounds like a light-hearted, jazzy song at first, but the lyrics reveal a tragic tale. The song tells the story of a young orphan girl who, to survive, makes artificial flowers before freezing to death. It is one of the darkest songs concealed under a cheerful exterior because of the unnerving contrast between the upbeat melody and the sorrowful subject matter. It seems even more ironic because of Bobby Darin's big band arrangement, which appears to be using an energetic tempo to cover up the terrible reality. When listeners eventually pay attention, the words are a startling reminder of the hardships endured by youngsters living in poverty. The Monkees, Pleasant Valley Sunday. Pleasant Valley Sunday, a song by Jerry Goffin and Carole King that parodies the idea of ideal suburban neighborhoods where appearances matter more than authenticity, may sound like a happy tune celebrating suburban life. Still, it's a scathing critique of the 1960s monotonous, consumer-driven culture. The lyrics reveal the dissatisfaction concealed behind well-kept lawns and ideal homes, highlighting the meaninglessness of keeping up with the Joneses. Ironically, many listeners overlook its satirical undertone and take it for a cheerful anthem. This song was utilized by the Monkees, who are frequently written off as a manufactured pop band, to make a startling, direct social statement. The Toadies, Tyler. The song's lyrics portray a horrific tale, yet its dreamy alternative rock melody is captivating. Tyler tells the story of a man who breaks into a woman's house while she is sleeping and stalks her. The lyrics' almost lyrical description of his compulsive love makes it much more disturbing. The song's typical captivating tune takes on a dark quality when revealed about an attack. Though the creepy lyrics leave little room for interpretation, the Toadies never acknowledge the meaning explicitly. From the viewpoint of a predator, what appears to be a love song is a nightmare. Reba McEntire, Fancy. Although Reba McEntire's country classic is sometimes hailed as an inspirational song, its backstory is disturbing. The young girl in Fancy is forced into prostitution by her mother to get out of poverty. Even if Fancy goes on to become wealthy and successful, it is tragic that her early years were taken from her terribly. Its gloomy reality stands in strange juxtaposition to the song's lively, almost joyous tone. Some claim it romanticizes a tragic end, while others view it as a story of perseverance. In any case, it continues to be one of the most contentious stories in country music. The Mountain Goats, No Children. No Children appears to be a funny indie folk song at first, but it shows an incredibly toxic and nasty relationship upon closer inspection. The song is a harsh portrayal of a bitter marriage in which both spouses hate one another, yet remain together out of spite. The song's ironically cheerful tune conceals its tragic undertones, which include lines like, "I hope you die, I hope we both die." John Darnielle, vocalist of the Mountain Goats, makes No Children both sorrowful and achingly real by capturing the unadulterated brutality of lost relationships. Its upbeat tone further heightens the message's eerie quality. Poison, I Want Action. I Want Action by Poison was played on radios all over the place during the 1980s glam rock era. The lyrics, disturbing allusions to seizing a lady against her will, were unheard. Although the song was viewed as just another party hymn, lines like, "If I can't have her, I'll take her and make her," reveal a troubling attitude about consent. It became a hit with little concern at the time because of the upbeat, catchy melody that took the focus off the problematic lyrics. It's among the most troublesome songs from the glam rock era. The Black Crowes, She Talks to Angels. She Talks to Angels initially seems to be a depressing song about an enigmatic, free-spirited woman. However, underlying the beautiful lyrics is a tragic truth: heroin addiction. The song tells the story of a woman who uses drugs to escape her misery and conceals it behind a bohemian lifestyle. The song's underlying meaning is revealed with the phrase, "She gives a smile when the pain comes," which depicts a terrible battle with substance misuse. The melancholic words and eerie tune transform it into a potent yet tragic story of addiction. Alt J, Breeze Blocks. Many admirers were mesmerized by Breeze Blocks' hypnotic music and lyrical lyrics before realizing its unsettling backstory. The song's lyrics, which describe a narrator who won't let go of someone, even if it means injuring them, are about passionate love gone violent. The music video, which depicts a murder in reverse, furthers this ominous concept. The song is among the most eerie in contemporary indie rock due to the contrasts between its melancholic lyrics and its gentle harmonies. It serves as a terrifying reminder of the terrible outcomes that can result when love is corrupted by obsession. Eagles, Hotel California. Hotel California, one of rock's most famous songs, is sometimes misinterpreted as a romantic ballad about extravagance and wealth. It's a damning indictment of the American music industry's self-destruction, corruption, and decadence in the late 1970s. The song's lyrics depict a place that ensnares its visitors and are a metaphor for the alluring yet unbreakable hold of fame. Hotel California is far from the utopia it seems to be, with allusions to materialism, drug abuse, and moral rot. The creepy last sentence further cements its unnerving message: you can check out anytime you like, but you can never leave. Eddie Grant, Electric Avenue. This song has a wonderful vibe that makes you want to dance. Therefore, I frequently associate it with summer. Its lyrics, however, aren't party-worthy. According to Grant, the song alludes to Electric Avenue, a retail district in London's Brixton neighborhood. It is about a poor man who sees things he can never do. The song was also a reaction to some of the racism that was sparked at the time when more people believed the violence was about race when, in fact, it mainly was about poverty. Grant mentions the Brixton area as the scene of riots between police and protesters in 1981 in the opening line, "Down in the street, there is violence." Although awareness of this doesn't alter the song's catchiness, it may cause you to stop and consider its origins as you groove. Ed Sheeran, The A-Team. Given Ed Sheeran's vocal style, A-Team can appear to be a cheerful song at first glance, but it addresses a serious subject. Sheeran wrote the music based on an event, helping at a homeless shelter during a crisis and meeting a girl named Angel. The term A-Team describes the Class A substances, including cocaine, that Angel uses to get by as she lives on the streets. Before A-Team lifted him out of obscurity, Sheeran struggled with homelessness in his early musical career. According to him, he also produced the song to draw attention to the plight of those living on the streets. Even if the lyrics are heavier than anticipated, they nonetheless effectively raise awareness of the terrible effects of addiction. Outkast, Hey Ya. Anyone familiar with 2000s hits is aware of Hey Ya. These days, this is a must-play at gatherings, particularly weddings. Why? Because it's a fantastic party tune that moves quickly and is catchy. It's easy to overlook lines like, if what they say is nothing is forever, then what makes love the exception? Because the chorus, Hey Ya, and the line, shake it like a Polaroid picture, are so entertainment, and why, knowing that we're unhappy here, are we still living in denial? Therefore, even though the song is enjoyable to sing and dance to, it makes fun of the tendency for people to remain in an unsatisfactory relationship because they are afraid of being alone. The most depressing aspect? The group singer, Andre 3000, even states in the song, "Y'all don't want to hear me, you just want to dance." He knows that the song would be turned into a party song, with its genuine meaning ignored in favor of catchy dance music. The next time you listen to a 2000s hit, try not to consider how fleeting relationships are. The Beatles, Help. Most people believe Help to be only a fast-paced rock and roll tune. According to John Lennon's remark, "I was crying out for help. I only composed the song because I was asked to write it for the film. I was unaware of it then. Later on, though, I realized that I desperately needed assistance." Why then did Lennon require assistance? He claimed that the band believed that the industry controlled their songwriting and that their rapid popularity was overpowering. Originally intended to be a ballad, Help was performed by the Beatles. They worked faster in the studio to appease the group's commercial inclinations, just like they had with Please Please Me. It has been alleged that they chose the cheerful approach to appease the record industry because darker song versions were never recorded. The upbeat song became popular, and many fans were unaware of how much the song's author required assistance. Panic at the Disco, Kamasato. Fear at the Disco is renowned for its lively tunes, and the album Kamasato features a fast-paced, uplifting alternative rock meets cabaret approach. Although not all of the songs on the album Pretty Odd are fast-paced, this one most closely fits the description. It's lively and fun to sing along to, but the lyrics are somber. Then member Ryan Ross wrote this song to explore his relationship with his violently alcoholic father. Many lines depict the addiction, including "Sit back and relapse again," and "You've earned your place atop the ICU's Hall of Fame. The bruises and contusions will remind me what you did when you wake." It's such a sad subject matter set in a fast-paced, upbeat track until you realize what the lyrics are about. Ross had to take care of him when he would relapse. Third Eye Blind, Semi-Charmed Life. The song's opening, "Do Do Do," gives the impression that it's a happy song, and it's been used in TV show soundtracks for years to maintain the upbeat vibe. Still, if you listen to the lyrics, you'll find that it's actually about drugs taking over a person's life and losing people because of it. It has been suggested that the song was about crystal meth in particular. The man in the song makes it clear that drugs were all he had, and he laments how using drugs has become a chore, but he's addicted, so he must continue to do it. According to lead singer Stephen Jenkins, it's a dirty, filthy song about snorting speed and getting blowjobs. Yeah, this is the one that ruined the song for me. It has a joyful melody, and the chorus may be interpreted as upbeat, as though no negative is being heard. Undoubtedly, things change when one realizes the genuine meaning. The Police, Every Breath You Take. Every Breath You Take appears to be a love song at first glance. Someone will observe the person they love since they are so committed to them. Every movement, every breath they take. Hold on, how romantic do you think this song is? Although it seems like a lovely love ballad, it's about stalking someone. The author admitted that, in retrospect, it sounds like a frightening tune, even though he initially denied this description. It demonstrates how people's perceptions of how love is portrayed evolve throughout time. Perhaps having someone constantly observe you sounded romantic in the 1980s. These days, many individuals point out red flags in relationships and this kind of unsettling conduct. When you consider that from the viewpoint of a stalker, it's unnerving to hear. James Blunt, You're Beautiful. Indeed, it is correct. Contrary to popular opinion, the 2004 hit song You're Beautiful is not a love song. It sounds beautiful, almost like love that hasn't been returned. But according to James Blunt, the song is not this soft, romantic effin' song. I apologize if this destroyed your day as much as it did mine. It's about a guy who should be locked up or put in prison for being a pervert because he is high as a effin' kite on drugs on the train and stalks someone else's girlfriend when that guy is there in front of him. It turns out that Blunt was merely talking about a drug addict in the song we used to sing and think of him as a hopeless romantic. I wish everyone knew this information. The Weeknd, Can't Feel My Face. Over the past 10 years, The Weeknd has gained popularity as an artist. The song, Can't Feel My Face, remained on the Billboard charts for months, playing in every bar, store, and club. It is well known for its energetic, catchy singles, such as In the Night and I Feel It Coming. It is a standard party song about a man in love with a woman. He is so enamored of her that he can't feel his face when they are together. It turns out that the song isn't really about a girl. It has to do with cocaine. It's not a tribute to a woman, but to drugs. It clarifies the odd wording. Even if it is startling, it makes sense once you understand the background. Foster the People, Pumped Up Kicks. One would assume that Pumped Up Kicks is just another upbeat indie radio song if they listen to it without listening to the lyrics. But if you listen, you can see that the song's subject matter isn't unpleasant. It is not an upbeat song, as seen by lines like, Outrun My Gun. Mark Foster investigated the mind of a disturbed young person before a school shooting after being horrified by the statistics of school shootings. The song, he claimed, was about a child becoming insane and planning retaliation. He is a misfit. It seems that young people in our society are growing increasingly alone. In a way, it is an epidemic. I wanted to get into the killer's mind, like Truman Capote did in Cold Blood, instead of writing about victims and some tragedy. Surprisingly, many people have stated that they were unaware of the song's meaning when it was played worldwide in 2010. Barry Manilow, Copacabana. The now famous song Copacabana, recorded by Barry Manilow and published in 1978, was inspired by a discussion between Manilow and Bruce Sussman at the Copacabana Hotel in Rio de Janeiro on whether or not there was an existing song called Copacabana. The words convey a sinister tale, despite the dance song becoming a tropical, foot-tapping success. It revolves around the lives of Tony, a club bartender, and Lola, a showgirl from Copacabana. A thug who tries to woo Lola is attacked by Tony, who is slain in the resulting altercation. 30 years after the disaster, the club is now a disco, and the lyrics resume. However, Lola continues to drink herself half-blind and longs for Tony while sitting at the bar in her showgirl clothes. Bobby Darin, Mac the Knife. Bobby Darin won 2 Grammy Awards for recording his version of Mac the Knife as a single in 1958. Before this, Louis Armstrong performed the song in the United States in 1955. The song was originally written by Kurt Weill and featured in the 1928 music drama The Threepenny Opera. There are numerous more noteworthy recordings of the song. Like Copacabana, the attractive melody accompanies some rather unsettling lyrics. Mac is presented as a murderer, rapist, and arsonist who has psychopathic tendencies, particularly toward women. The narrative is presented almost casually, with blood on the pavements, corpses in the river, and unaccounted-for casualties. Tracy Chapman, Fast Car. One of the greatest vocalists in the world is Tracy Chapman. Every one of her songs has a tale to tell and is essential. You won't be able to stop humming Fast Car after listening to it on the radio. Chapman's parents inspired the song Fast Car, which she wrote after discussing with a local newscaster how hard it was for them to start their lives as newlyweds without access to higher education or employment possibilities. Fast car represented the escape route from this less-than-ideal circumstance. The song's lyrics also convey a depressing tale of a girl stranded in a tiny town who must care for her drunken and dysfunctional father. She eventually leaves this life behind with her partner and embarks on what she hopes will be a better future. While she works every day and looks after their kids, the boyfriend later reveals himself to be an unemployed alcoholic who is just like the girl's father. The Chicks, Goodbye Earl. Goodbye Earl, a country song, epitomizes a cheerful melody. Rolling Stone recently listed it among the top 500 greatest songs of all time. It was first released as a single in 2000, and the words reflect a terrible scourge that unfortunately plagues the world today. It relates the tale of best friends Mary Ann and Wanda, who part ways after high school in a manner reminiscent of a black comedy. Earl, the guy Wanda marries, begins to abuse her physically. The lyrics continue by describing how Earl placed Wanda in critical care despite her filing for divorce and receiving a restraining order. Mary Ann then comes back to assist Wanda in killing Earl by contaminating his meals. Although the song's violent themes caused controversy at the time, it is still one of the Chicks' most well-liked songs. Uncle Kracker, Follow Me. The day I learned about the 9/11 attacks, Uncle Kracker's Follow Me was playing on the car radio. As the shaken newsreader explained what was going on in the United States, it was interrupted in the middle of the soothing chorus. Only a few years later did I listen to the song and its lyrics once again, research it, and discover that it essentially portrays drug addiction. More significantly, heroin addiction. In a 2001 interview, Uncle Kracker claimed that the song was about both drugs and adultery. As a result, a lot of the song's listeners came to believe that Uncle Kracker was talking about his adultery with a married woman rather than cheating in general. Blink-182, Adam's Song. Adam's Song is simultaneously endearing and tragic. It's a song about loneliness, suicide, loss, and depression. The lyrics to Adam's Song, which resembles a suicide note, were inspired by a magazine article about a teen suicide that bassist Mark Hoppus read. Additionally, some of the lyrics refer to Nirvana's Come As You Are, which was tragically playing on repeat when Greg Barnes hanged himself in his family's garage in 2000. Barnes had lost a teacher's mentor and personal friend, but he had survived the Columbine High School massacre a year earlier. But as the band has received countless thank you notes over the years, the song has also been crucial in helping hundreds of people overcome suicidal thoughts. The Beatles, Run for Your Life. John Lennon decided to share his own story of horrific domestic abuse after being inspired by the hip-swinging Elvis Presley song, Baby, Let's Play House, in which the singer exclaims, "I'd rather see you dead, little girl, than to be with another man." Music can depict the darker aspects of life so long as it is infused with a moral message that somehow permeates the words. Unfortunately, that was lost in the process of creating this song, and it now seems like a heartless story from a man who, in the first place, had his run-ins with violent relationships. Lennon eventually despised the song when the comedy seemed to have been lost. The music had been carried by its pop petard, and the concealed message had been partially twisted. Because of this error, radio stations have banned it for spreading a harmful message of violence against women. To put it succinctly, it's arguably the Beatles' worst song. It's also simple to understand why, with lyrics like, "Let this be a sermon, I mean everything I've said, baby I'm determined, and I'd rather see you dead." Lady Gaga, Do What You Want. With this track, the title alone is problematic enough. Additionally, there's the gruesome music video before we even get the lyrics. The clip stars R. Kelly and Terry Richardson, who have both been under investigation for serious and disturbing sexual assault claims. Kelly was found guilty and given a 30-year term. Oddly enough, it's worse than the criminal billing that goes with it implies. In essence, both the song and the video promote rape. With the lines, "Do What You Want," resounding in the background, Kelly plays a doctor evaluating Gaga, who is just wearing a surgical sheet. This is one of the claims that it supports sexual misbehavior. Gaga has since described the song and video as absolutely horrifying and indefensible. It's easy to understand why she has attempted to distance herself from this non-consensual horror show with lines like, "You can't have my heart, and you won't use my mind, but do what you want with my body." She went on to say, "I intended to create something extremely defiant and provocative because I was angry and still hadn't processed the trauma that had occurred in my own life. I think it's clear how explicitly twisted my thinking at the time." Elton John, Island Girl. Elton John's reggae song reached #1 without anyone paying much attention to the lyrics, which were wrong at the time, which may be the most concerning aspect of it. Although that may be a disparaging stereotyping of Caribbean women, middle-class lyricist Bernie Taupin used Caribbean musicology to craft what he thought was a fitting story about a young girl who moves to New York City and immediately starts turning tricks for the dudes in the big city. Taupin then goes on to write a line with strong anti-immigration overtones asking, "What you wanting with the white man's world?" As if aside from actions the music relates to being immoral, this black as coal Jamaican honey has nothing to contribute or gain in the big city. Lines like, "Black boy want you in his island world," further intensify this devaluation of women of color as objects with waning autonomy. Furthermore, racial discourse has a strong undertone in general. The song even opens with the unsettling line, "I see your teeth flash." The fact that this song peaked at #1 indicates that wokeness needs to be reframed as straightforward, equal accountability. Dean Martin, "Baby It's Cold Outside." Perhaps the most overtly problematic mega hit in history is this holiday staple. The revelation that this is a story of sexual assault can be made without further explanation. Depending on how you interpret the startled delivery of the statement, "Say what's in the drink, possible rape on a date," the song just says, "Ugh, you're very pushy, you know," with no hints of subversion. In response, the counterparty says, "I'd like to think of it as opportunistic." The call and answer number, which dates back to 1944, was nearly simultaneously criticized and evaluated as a hit. The movie Neptune's Daughter made it more well known in 1949, showing how seriously troublesome it was. In a classic act of subversion, it accomplished the latter. When the gender roles are switched and Betty Garrett begs an old man to stay instead of facing the ravaging cold, the lyric's complete insanity becomes apparent. Suddenly, any trace of romantic persuasion is lost in the numerous embarrassing gulps that are caused. Interestingly, Christmas is the only topic left out of the lyrics. Kiss, Christine 16. Kiss gained notoriety by pursuing controversy. They used a new, obscene form of rock and roll that sought emancipation to rally against conservatism. But it's important to remember that this can go too far. A rebellion against morality and ethics is not what liberation entails. Unfortunately, this repulsive piece of mistaken rock and roll severely missed that point. Again, hardly much study is required to criticize this song's lyrics. Without comment, I offer the following verse. "I don't usually say things like this to girls your age, Christine 16. But when I saw you coming out of the school that day I knew, I've got to have you, Christine 16. The accompanying gyrating exacerbates the issue. This is not the slightest trace of irony in what is, in essence, an outspoken defense of possessively lustful after-school girls. Led Zeppelin, Sick Again. Bob Spitz, the author of Led Zeppelin, hoped Robert Plant would talk to him about his book. Before the #MeToo movement began, it seemed likely, but the band became less eager to reveal their secrets. Jimmy Page's affairs with younger ladies have been documented, but if the lyrics indicate, Plant may also have some secrets in his closet. Consider the exhibit Sick Again, which is supported by the presence of a groupie who has been a fan of the band since she was 13 and eagerly awaits the day she will reach the coveted 16 milestone. The undertone of the song, which is that of an adult man yearning for the day a girl will be old enough to sleep with him, is more than a bit sneaky to hear, despite the song's intensely sensual sonority. Perhaps hinting at his plans, the plant ends the song with ecstatic sighs. Motley Crue, You're All I Need. Although Motley Crue has always welcomed controversy, You're All I Need contains a slightly offensive tone that can irritate listeners who are sensitive to femicide. Later, bassist Nikki Sixx acknowledged that the song was inspired by his real-life feelings, indicating a desire to express himself musically to his fiancée. I didn't say anything when I brought the cassette to her flat, he told Rolling Stone. I just had a little cassette player and I just played it for her, and she started crying and I walked out the door. I thought, well, that's that. The song, disturbingly, describes the viewpoint of a man who murders his sweetheart to keep her attractive. Vince Neil's heartbreaking vocals conceal the emotion, revealing a remarkable performance that begins softly and rises to an outburst near the end. Guns N' Roses, One in a Million. Axl Rose likes to trot fans like Nicky Wire, but his comrades didn't like this song. The slurs in the song are directed toward members of the Black community and the LGBTQ+ community, respectively. You may always listen to the audio to hear the slurs if you want to, but we won't be publicizing them. Roses argued that Slash, a biracial band member, would not have performed on it if he believed it was made with actual racist purposes. Rose's experience does not, however, speak for everyone. Unquestionably, the song employs the words for shock value, which makes it nearly difficult to play the music on the radio without any edits. Rose once begs the audience to overlook the indistinctive desires and pardon him as he is a small-town boy. Later, Duff McKagan acknowledged that he didn't like the song, but he was blown away when Rose chose to perform a song by Charles Manson for their 1993 album, The Spaghetti Incident. One of the most insulting songs in modern history may be One in a Million. Falco, Genie. The Austrian singer Falco's most well-known song outside is Amadeus, which was released following a renewed interest in Mozart's compositions. However, this inquisitive song, which captures the horrors of kidnapping, reveals a more experimental side to the singer. Even though it's sung in German, the cackling vocal style immediately clarifies the message. In a similar vein, the song includes a news broadcast that describes the kidnapping along with several defamatory headlines. Perhaps the song is rarely played on stations due to its unadulterated substance. The song feels sharp, keeping in check the reality and viewpoints of the story in question, but it's unlikely that a rock musician would release a song written in this manner today. But perhaps they would, as the Killers wrote, "Jenny Was a Friend of Mine," which is frequently played at concerts. Serge and Charlotte Gainsbourg, Lemon Incest. Serge Gainsbourg has no qualms about startling others. The artist was always content to cause controversy, whether it was by expressing his desire to F. Whitney Houston live on television, or by crafting an organ-headed piece that sensually presented the song. However, no one anticipated Lemon Incest, a sharp pop song he co-wrote with his daughter Charlotte, aged 12. The music, full of intrigue and innuendo, was recorded by Charlotte and her father before she acted in a string of inflammatory movies. The video also shows the two singers in bed together, with Serge's nude top on display, as if the title wasn't obvious enough. In recent years, Charlotte has reclaimed the song to declare, "It's my song too," even if she acknowledged that it was tinged with fury. The Rolling Stones, Brown Sugar. Now, this is a difficult one. The song is actually about a white enslaver raping a black slave, even though it has a lively tune and a high-pitched vocal line. The band has removed the song from their set list because it no longer feels suitable in light of Black Lives Matter and a broader cultural awakening for a large portion of the populace. Keith Richards, guitarist with the Stones, was undoubtedly confused by it and responded, "I don't know. I'm attempting to ascertain the exact nature of the conflict between the sisters. They knew this song was about the atrocities of slavery, didn't they? However, they're attempting to bury it." Mick Jagger, the band's singer, was more realistic and said that they might play it again soon. However, during its duration, the song served as a source of amusement and a warning about the perils of slavery and the importance of treating everyone equally. They are correct in removing the song from their list. even if it has one of Jagger's most devoted vocals. Megadeth, Family Tree. Whether Dave Mustaine's more strained vocals or the influx of new players joining and leaving the band, Megadeth is notorious for stirring up controversy. Their willingness to write and rock to their heart's content, however, is something they do take pride in, which perhaps explains why they have approached unusual subjects like rape and incest with the same fervor and affection that they do. Given Dave Ellefson's troubled past, the song sounds considerably grimmer in 2024 than in 1994. Mustaine's persona begs his victim not to feel bad because it's part of the family. If the song is only elevated as a piece of art, it's likely the best to make this list, but considering the central thesis, don't expect Classic Rock FM to play it anytime soon. There are a lot of guitar hooks in the production, and the musicians are performing with a lot of energy and recklessness. Neil Diamond, Girl, You'll Be a Woman Soon. This song inspired this list. The scene in Pulp Fiction where Uma Thurman dances to Neil Diamond's seductive song will probably be familiar to many of you. It's not Diamond on the recording, but Urge Overkill, who put a lot of energy and creativity into it. Although the song is frighteningly explicit when heard alone, it fits into the danger Quentin Tarantino had in mind for the scene. One element is evident in the lyrics. Girl, you'll be a woman soon. Soon you'll need a man. Everywhere we look, there is another allusion to the day the woman will be old enough to have sex. Sex permeates the music. When it was re-recorded in the 1990s, it was difficult to dismiss it as a song of its time. Susie and the Banshees, Night Shift. Rape, incest, and murder have all occurred, but necrophilia has not yet been discovered. To add that specific outlet to this expanding list of filthy pursuits, good old Susie Sue is here. You won't be alone if, by the conclusion of the list, you feel like taking a cold shower. There are also several F's throughout the song, not a meaningless metaphor, but the derogatory term that rises through the singer's distorted voice. Set to various sparkly produced guitars, it's a fiery performance. The tune gives the song new life and gives the singer a new persona as the barreling drums come in, crashing the background with a series of sharp riffs and hammering beneath the heavy riff. The band gives it their all during the performance, where the song shines. It's like a bullfighter risking everything for the ultimate rush. Robin Thicke, Blurred Lines. Only one person could win. The chorus of the most awful one-hit wonder, released in the summer of 2013, made almost everyone uneasy. Strangely, Pharrell Williams, who later wrote the witty tune Happy in 2014, co-wrote the song. However, it takes a sick listener to discern any positive aspects of this composition. The line, I know you want it, is undoubtedly dubious, and Robin Thicke lacks the courtesy to acknowledge that his motivations are anything but honorable, unlike Dave Mustaine. Furthermore, the song is a near-direct lift from a Marvin Gaye composition, despite the catchy primary hook. It was a bad show. Avenged Sevenfold, A Little Piece of Heaven. Don't let the title deceive you. A Little Piece of Heaven by Avenged Sevenfold swiftly devolves from what appears to be a simple love ballad into a vicious murder. Must have stabbed her filthy effin' times and puke necrophilia. Yes, but our vile narrator eventually receives his just desserts after his victim gives him a taste of his own medicine. By the time this graphic tale concludes, the beautiful couple is reunited as husband and wife in some sort of afterlife. Do you find it disturbing enough? Nirvana, Polly. Many initially assumed this was a lovely, innocent love song because of the stark contrast between the electrifying attack of Nirvana's Nevermind and the soothing acoustic swing of Polly. Naturally, a quick look at Kurt Cobain's lyrics would show the song's sinister inspiration, which was an article the singer read about an 14-year-old girl who had been tortured and sexually molested before her fortunate escape from a kidnapper. Soft music can also be highly unsettling. Pantera, Good Friends and a Bottle of Pills. Throughout 1994's chart-topping album Far Beyond Driven, which was filled with songs and lyrics sure to refute any sellout claims, Philip Anselmo was in a particularly confrontational mood, realizing that his band's increasing popularity would provoke a backlash from some ardent fans. With his horrific story of sexual betrayal in Good Friends and a Bottle of Pills, however, Anselmo truly set off a terror in the minds of many listeners, essentially guaranteeing that anyone who heard the song would never again let his female friends alone with the singer. Deftones, Change in the House of Flies. Even while Change in the House of Flies is the Deftones' most popular tune, it doesn't necessarily make sense, and the band hasn't revealed what it means if it has one. Instead, this profoundly unsettling classic uses a few provocative phrases, such as a crucifix and a pistol, and a few connotations to create a sensation of dread and confusion over the rich melodic background. Is the subject of the narrator a real fly, the victim of a serial killer, or something worse? It can't be nearly as interesting to know for a fact as imagine. Korn, Daddy. Not only did Korn virtually entirely create the nu metal genre, but they also introduced confessional vulnerability to previously always masculine music. Not-so-Korn singer Jonathan Davis courageously poured his own traumatic childhood experience of being abused, along with the added anguish of his parents' incredulity when he told them, into the song Daddy, which brought the band's 1994 debut to a tense close. Nine Inch Nails, Closer. Look no further than Nine Inch Nails' 1994 smash hit Closer for definitive evidence that no parental advisory sticker can stop a certified hit. The song's provocative lyrics alone should have barred it from MTV, let alone the fantastic music video that went with it. All those audio and visual edits did nothing to hide its contents, which, as you are well aware, were utterly upsetting to many viewers and buyers, but also irresistible. Soundgarden, Black Hole Sun. Not only did Soundgarden take part in the grunge revolution, but they were instrumental in starting it long before other influential bands like Nirvana, Alice in Chains, and Pearl Jam. Chris Cornell effortlessly combined powerful sounds and weighty ideas with a dismal post-punk style. Still, their most famous song, Black Hole Sun from 1994, changed the course of events by masking its evil goal in a soft but ultimately terrible lullaby. Then the frightful music video followed the tune, which took viewers and listeners down an unforgettable and bizarre rabbit hole using state-of-the-art special effects. Marilyn Manson, Disposable Teens. With a retaliatory musical indictment titled Disposable Teens, Marilyn Manson retaliated against the conservative media for unfairly blaming him for the Columbine school shootings. Manson did the best he could, challenging the essentially religious pundits who piled on his Antichrist superstar persona by singing, "I never really hated one true God, but the God of the people I hated," while reminding everyone that the innocent, disposable teens were the victims. Metallica, One. Metallica ignored the music video revolution for years and grew a sizable fan base the old-fashioned way by putting fantastic music in record stores and putting on a grand tour. They only gave in 1988 when they released One, the most approachable song from their fourth album, with a chilling, dramatic music video that featured scenes from the film Johnny Got His Gun to ensure that fans understood the terrible source material that initially sparked this fantastic song. Pearl Jam, Jeremy. Based on a true story about a student who shot himself in front of his class, Pearl Jam's radio and MTV hit Jeremy addressed the worst-case endgame scenario years before bullying became a contentious national debate. Eddie Vedder's lyrics offered an emotional theory on the issues that might have contributed to the young man's radical expression, which the singer poetically voiced as Jeremy spoke in class today. Even now, Vedder's understatement gives the song an inherently unsettling vibe for such a lovely song. Judas Priest, Better by You, Better by Me. Judas Priest's early catalog was entirely of sad material, much like that of Black Sabbath, another significant trend-setting band in the heavy metal throughout the 1970s. As a result, Their cover of Spooky Tooth's Better by You, Better Than Me for 1978's Stained Glass hardly garnered any attention. But many years later, the parents of two young men who said they had tried suicide directly as a result of listening to this well-known song made it the focus of a worrying lawsuit. Thankfully, all the accusations were ultimately dropped, but the stigma associated with the tape regrettably endures. Sex Pistols, Bodies. Given that every song the Sex Pistols recorded was explicitly designed to challenge the existing status quo, how could one song be selected for this list? Yes, but by delving deeper into the complex topic of abortion, Bodies confronted even more profound traumas than the band's frequent attacks on record labels and public officials. The graphic language used by Johnny Rotten, which spared no blood or gore and compared his entire, apparently undesired generation to walking, breathing abortions, was even more startling. Oh no. System of a Down, Chop Suey. Despite being removed from many radio stations' playlists after 9/11, System of a Down's improbable mega-hit successfully uniquely addressed suicide thoughts. According to guitarist Darren Malakian, the song's lyrics explore how people are frequently identified by how they passed away, such as by drug overdoses or suicide, and the injustice of this way of thinking. The song's intense and unsettling impression was further enhanced by the fact that its frenzied attack did not, musically, prepare listeners for its lovely piano-accompanied finish. Alice Cooper, Cold Ethel. Among Alice Cooper's innumerable shock rock compositions, Cold Ethel from Welcome to My Nightmare resonates with the singer's rock and roll journey. For once, Alice is recounting his near-fatal experience with alcoholism by claiming that this Ethel, another word for booze, of course, was his muse, rather than joyfully dancing with his corpses or pretending to be dead at the amusement of his audience. Fortunately, the vocalist would finally break free from her lethal grip, but the song's message is still alarming. Body Count, Cop Killer. In 1992, Ice-T's heavy metal band Body Count released one of the most contentious songs ever, Cop Killer. This song sparked widespread law enforcement protests and public criticism, leading to the song's eventual removal from the band's self-titled debut. T and Company replaced it with a song titled Freedom of Speech, which also conveys a message against censorship. However, the violent protest of Cop Killer is still relevant today, especially in light of the recent protests against police shootings that were captured on camera. Merciful Fate, A Dangerous Meeting. Thanks to its instantly identifiable sound, shaped by guitarist Hank Sherman's inventive riffs and the evocative gothic narration of King Diamond, Denmark's Merciful Fate has a special place in heavy metal history. Although the band's songs could be included on this list, not to mention the King's extensive, frequently conceptual solo discography, few songs have had the focused impact of A Dangerous Meeting, released in 1983. It tells the story of a demonic seance gone wrong and warns listeners not to play with the powers of hell. Danzig, Mother. The UK media asked, "Would you let your daughter go with a Rolling Stone?" Rock artists have been a boon to devoted parents everywhere since Lemmy began urging them to lock up your daughters. However, it's challenging to find a song that tackles this issue more directly and menacingly than Danzig's classic song, Mother, in which vocalist Glenn vows to show that child his world and all the frightening things in life that parents have tried so hard to protect them from. Parents freaked out, therefore the mission was successful. Sublime, Date Rape. When ska punkers Sublime chose to take on the issue of date rape head-on with this song from their 1992 debut, the idea was still relatively fresh to society as a whole. By placing themselves in the attacker's position, Sublime was able to make fun of his naive and impolite actions, probably teaching many listeners the proper way to conduct themselves in casual situations. The song's conclusion, "They locked him up and threw away the key. Well, I can't take pity on men of his kind, even though he now takes it in the behind," demonstrated precisely what the guilty party deserved. Slayer, Dead Skin Mask. By the time Slayer's fifth studio album, Seasons in the Abyss, was released, many thrash metal fans had begun to accept their hero's preference for contentious lyrics, which may have encouraged the band to go all out with the eerily eerie Dead Skin Mask. To put it briefly, the song was written as a first-person narrative by convicted serial killer Ed Gein, but what fascinates listeners is the unnerving subtlety of Tom Araya's lyrics as he tries to enter this deranged killer's twisted mind and comprehend his gruesome motivations. Papa Roach, Last Resort. Although their iconic song took an unapologetic look at suicide, Papa Roach was by no means the scariest of bands in a nu metal scene characterized by Korn's horrific songcraft and the masked monsters in Slipknot. As is frequently the case, Last Resort, which was inspired by the real-life hardships of a band member's buddy, ended up reaching out to a large number of young fans who were going through similar issues as they grew up, finally conveying a troubling message at its most therapeutic. King Diamond, Abigail. King Diamond made heavy metal history with his second solo album. With a gripping and meticulously crafted narrative that spans all 9 of the LP's songs, it elevated the craft of narrating musical ghost stories to previously unheard-of conceptual heights. Because of this, listeners were captivated from beginning to end and absorbed in Abigail's captivating tale of possession by the album's title finale. You couldn't listen to this kind of music in a lonely, dark house without karate chopping your way to your bedroom and bed. Motorhead, Don't Let Daddy Kiss Me. Lemmy Kilmister of Motorhead was undoubtedly a contender for the title of finest lyricist in the history of heavy music. His band's searing cacophony generally complemented Lem's caustic views of faulty human nature. However, Kilmister's eerie song, Don't Let Daddy Kiss Me, which only included a sparse acoustic guitar arrangement to emphasize his deadly serious condemnation of child abuse, surprised his followers into paying close attention by placing the vast man in the victim's shoes. Disturbed, Down with the Sickness. Is your illness getting better? The second song from Chicago's Disturbed's sophomore album, Down with the Sickness, which severely damaged the band in 2000, asks that very question. It's difficult to explain on paper, but listening to the song confirms its unsettling qualities. The song's eerie appeal is due as much to its tense and deliberate nu metal groove as to singer David Draymond's quavering melodies and frequently used syncopated signature squawk going ooh-wah-ah-ah-ah. Machine Head, Davidian. Cult leader David Koresh and his Branch Davidians fought the U.S. government in 1993 from their fortified complex in Waco, Texas, where they remained for 51 days before a last battle that resulted in 82 people dying in flames. Most Americans were stunned by the event, but Rob Flynn, the frontman of Machine Head, bravely envisioned the standoff from the perspective of the cult members in 1994's incredibly unsettling Davidian, which culminated in their cathartic yells of "Let Freedom Ring" with a shotgun blast. Rammstein, Du Hast. Midway through the 1990s, industrial metal was at its most popular, but none anticipated the German iconoclast Rammstein approaching. With a series of eerie songs and their videos, none more well-known than Du Hast, the Berlin-born sextet demonstrated their familiarity with the Cold War, Americans' aversion to even slightly erroneous sexual imagery, and the fact that their native German complemented the robotic austerity of industrial music like a glove. Red Hot Chili Peppers, Under the Bridge. This is another charming ballad with a horrible secret concealed beneath its captivating melodies and Anthony Kiedis's modest, naive vocals. Under the Bridge is a moving confession of Kiedis's deadly tango with heroin addiction, which he eventually overcame, but not before witnessing it take the life of guitarist Hillel Slovak of the Red Hot Chili Peppers in 1988. Kiedis turned his suffering into a stunning success 3 years later, but to his credit, he was candid about its causes and likely assisted many listeners in overcoming comparable problems. Slipknot, Scissors. Scissors, one of the many Slipknot contenders deserving of this list, is filled with hand-wringing imagery that alludes to various forms of self-immolation, mentioning the narrator's skin, tongue, heart, and of course blood, but without identifying the weapon attacking them. The song is titled Scissors, but the lyrics refer to scalpels and needles. This is all irrelevant when the violence is directed at a female victim, which makes the whole situation much more terrifying. Ghost, Elizabeth. There are many musical homages to the notorious Hungarian Countess Elizabeth Bathory in heavy metal. See Venom, Cradle of Filth, and Sweden's own Bathory. Still, Ghost's fan favorite, Elizabeth, is arguably the most unsettling. While it's expected to yell and scream about such a terrible historical figure, hearing the Countess remembered through Papa Emeritus's frail croon somehow lends her macabre tale a more nuanced sense of dread that compels listeners to attempt to humanize this inhuman monster. Anthrax, a skeleton in the closet. Anthrax never shied away from challenging topics, and they likely gave up lyrics about Dungeons and Dragons earlier than most of their contemporaries. However, they also experimented with humor more than any other metal band, either before or subsequently, as seen by their unsettling adaptation of Stephen King's novella, Apt Pupil, which tells the story of an elderly Nazi's perverting influence on a troubled adolescent on the Among the Living epic, A Skeleton in the Closet. These New York thrashers went all out when they tackled dark subjects.
If you've watched the video till here, that means you've enjoyed the video. Subscribe. Don't forget to turn on the notifications bell icon